All right, the other thing that was happening is that I saw this in the real world, right? And I saw a spot like this, I saw a spot like that, and even though I saw that there was walls right here and that there was walls right here and that there was another, so there should be no ascending or descending point in this spot right here at the end of the hallway. But because I wasn't sure and I like to confirm everything and and be really careful, better be safe than sorry, that kind of mentality, I still went ahead and traveled that way. Okay, right here to the descending point. And I made sure that I couldn't ascend or descend, right? Or if I saw a spot like, let's see if there's one right here. There's not a spot like this right here. Let's just say there's an ascension point right here. Or if I saw a spot where I could plainly see that there was no way out of it, like I still went there just to confirm that there wasn't. So here's the other thing that I decided to adopt, and this might be better in a bigger maze, so I might have to do a bigger maze in order to show you. The other thing that I decided to adopt, the other idea, is that not only when I look at the alternative, when I look at this camera right here, this is the alternative view, the magical view, right? It wasn't just telling me the ascension or descending points of where I was standing, but the ascension and descension points of everything else in front of me. So I kind of had to trust that this ascending point and that here, let me clear that. I kind of had to trust that this ascending point and this descending point corresponded to that spot right there. This ascending point and this descending point corresponded to this part right here, and that this ascending point, this descending point corresponded to this. I kind of had to trust that. So the alternative view does not only show your sixth sense, but the sixth sense of everything you see in the direction that you are looking at. So I'm looking in that direction and it's kind of showing me all of this. So I'm kind of seeing the ascension points and the descending points of this spot, and that spot. So that's what I'm getting. And with that in mind, now I don't have to travel to each spot to test it, to see if I could ascend or descend there. So now that I see that, I have television now. I could see far away. And I ascend. There's a descending point at the end of the hall. Let's not be tempted by that. Let's do a more complex maze. Let's do a size medium. Are we ready for a size medium? I know I am, but there was a point in which that was a hard decision. All right. Let's see. This is home. What does home look like? Home has 2 blocks there and right there. Okay. There's nothing crazy about that spot right there. But where I'm standing, there's a descension point. And there's another descension point there. So there's a descension point. There's a wall missing right there and a wall missing. So that means there's a descending point right there and a descending point in that spot right there. And nothing else. There's just 2 descending points right here. Okay. So we just got to try one or the other. Good. That makes things easier. Let's descend. Let's descend, reorient ourselves, and now we're... Oh. Here's what I wanted to show you. Oh, maybe not. Okay. So I see right here, and this is kind of more complex, but you see there's green, green, and there's red, red. So even though I'm looking in the magical direction, that tells me that if I descend there, if I descend here and reorient myself, I'm going to be trapped in a block. And I didn't know that, I didn't trust that. I had to test it out every time until I acknowledged that, in the direction that you're looking, you can see everything. So now that I have that in mind, now I can do this. And there's nothing there, and just keep on descending until I get to that. Now I can reorient myself, and now there's this new world. Oh gosh. Did we descend on the left one or on the right one? I don't remember, but you have to remember that, because when you get back, you're gonna have to know which one to go into next. But anyways, we're here now. This is the real world now, and there's an ascension point in that spot. That's where we came from. So this place right here, that little crevice, consider that your way back home. If you don't remember that place, you'll never get back home. You have to remember that. And the reason why I'm saying it like this is because I did get lost many times. And so I have to think about it this way. And I have to think about it this emotionally so that I remember. Alright, but there's another ascension point where I'm at. There's nothing in this spot, but let's explore right here. Good. Oh, look. Forget home. I'm gonna get out of here. Alright. Here's something else that I noticed. Watch this. Isn't it curious? Have you noticed that right where I'm standing, you see there's a wall missing too. On the bottom screen, there's a wall missing to my left, or to the left of the game. Don't you find it curious that that wall is missing regardless of which way you are facing in the real world? Let's say you face back, the wall is missing right there, man. That's kind of creepy. It's like the wall is missing in the same spot. It's kind of like following you around, kind of like how the moon follows you around when you go a distance, but it stays in the same spot. It's kind of like that. And that's the same spot. I mean, that's not a different spot. If you ascend there, it's the same spot that you're going to be in, regardless of which way you're facing when you decide to ascend. Right? By the way, this is what I meant with the other note. There's walls right there. There are the red and the pink walls, and there's the light green and the dark green walls on the top, so that you know that if you ascend in that area, you're going to be trapped. So there's no point in going in that direction. So if I'm about to ascend and I see that, I'm like, okay, let's pretend we did it, and let's say we did. No, wait, how does the line go? Let's not and say we did. Yeah. But still, back to the original topic. That wall is missing regardless of which way you're facing. That's the same spot. Kind of like haunts you. Nope, that's the same spot. Imagine there's a dead rat right there, right? And it doesn't matter which way you're facing. Every time you turn and look into the spiritual realm, you see a dead rat. You're facing forward, you turn your eyes spiritually and you see a dead rat. So it's always on this side. It's always on this side on the bottom screen. That's kind of creepy, because it kind of follows you around, right? It doesn't matter which way you turn, it is always in the same direction relative to you, right? So let's say, let's put this in real world terms, right? Let's say that there's kind of a portal, right? There's kind of a portal kind of like behind you, although it's not really behind you because it's not really 3D, but behind you in the sense of hyperdimensionally, behind you hyperdimensionally, right? When you turn that way, and because you're not turning relative to the fourth dimension. You're turning relative to the three dimensions that you exist in. So you turn that way, and it's still behind you hyperdimensionally. And you turn around all the way, and it's still behind you hyperdimensionally. Right? So it doesn't matter which way you're facing, up, down, it's still going to be behind you hyperdimensionally. So you always, if you want to travel in that direction, it's always there. That means two things. It's always in the same spot. It's always there so that, you can always go in that direction if you ever happen to need to go into that direction. It's not gonna be in front of you hyperdimensionally one time and be, it's always there. It's always the same spot. So if you know how to walk backwards hyperdimensionally, you always can do that, because that's where the portal is. Pretty weird phenomena there. And I'm getting this principle just from a simple 3D maze. The portal opening is such that it doesn't matter which way you turn, it is always in the same direction relative to you. Unless of course you manage to turn in terms of that hyperdimensional direction, which you usually don't. Of course, if you turn around hyperdimensionally, then of course that descension point, and now is going to be in front of you hyperdimensionally, but you usually don't. In the real world, we have no conception of hyperdimensions. We don't need it in the 3D world, and so we're not used to manipulating our orientation hyperdimensionally. So if we ever decide to switch planes, it'll always be in the same direction. That is something that you can count on. It just waits there like a guardian angel or a demon, waiting to show itself the moment you decide to face it. So, to show you of what that phrase means, let's go to this spot right here. And we will travel. Because in this spot, there is a wall missing here and a wall missing there. So that means that it's an ascension point, and it is also a descension point. So if you want to travel hyperdimensionally, it always waits there. It always waits there for you. This spot where I'm standing out in the real world right now is very magical. It's very magical because you can travel upward or downward. And it's always in the same direction, it doesn't matter where you turn. Those two walls are going to be missing. Those two walls are still going to be missing. And it's always waiting there for you, like a guardian angel or a demon, for you, waiting to show itself the moment you decide to face it. And if you look at the real world, now you're facing it. Reorient yourself. Okay. And now there's another world. I don't think I want to finish this maze. I don't think I want to start it, but let's continue with the next note. So I kept trying to tell myself, in order to keep track of where I was, ignore the bottom screen, yet keep an eye on it. Although you see the sixth sense visually, you do not acknowledge it visually. So this is kind of saying, because I was focusing so much on the top screen that the bottom screen I was just using it for reference, but I wasn't paying attention to it too consciously, just so that I wouldn't get confused. And it started to feel like this bottom screen right here, it was something unconscious that I just knew. Even though I could see it visual, I mean, it's on my phone. There's a screen for it. It's on the bottom, right? But because I didn't acknowledge it consciously, I didn't consciously see it visually. So I say, although you see the sixth sense. So this is assuming this is now my mind just thinking. You know what? What if we do see spirits? we do see the spiritual realm in the real world. But because we don't, so we do see the sixth sense, but we do not acknowledge it visually. So here's what I wrote. Although you see the sixth sense visually, you do not acknowledge it visually. This is true in the maze as it is in real life, because it happens without your conscious acknowledgement. It ends up being as something you know, but you don't know how you know. So this is kind of something like that's unconscious, something that, and even though you see the spiritual realm, sometimes you look at a certain spot, or you're in a certain spot and you kind of feel weird, like, oh, there's something going on here, but you can't really tell, because maybe you even see spirits, maybe you even see ghosts, but because you're not acknowledging it visually, your mind just recognizes it as something unconscious, something deep, when really you could just see it literally if you paid attention to your eyes. Yeah. So the spiritual realm it doesn't have to be a sixth sense. Maybe it's something that you could see with your fifth sense, your eyes. But because we keep on ignoring it, we keep on ignoring that phenomena, it has, been kind of suppressed into a part of us that we don't really acknowledge it. And so it feels like a sixth sense. It feels like a part of our sense that we've repressed. Next cut.